We made it another year and we are now in January 2026, and I've got some recommendations for you. I want to kick it off with a really, really emotional one called Mighty the Fallen by Dianna Roman. This is a contemporary. Remy and Chris knew each other in college. Remy was going to school to become a physical therapist, and Chris was supposed to be like the new hot football star. He had everything going for him. He had a really bright future out of him. He was supposed to be drafted, and they were kind of a behind closed doors relationship, I guess you could call it. Chris was afraid that coming out would affect his football career, so he kind of kept Remy as a friends with benefits, with more benefits and less friends, less hanging out. But the two of them did have like this really like good chemistry. I really liked the way that it was timed both in the past in their college years, and then it skips forward quite a bit until present time, where Remy is now out of a relationship. He kind of gets stuck in these ruts where he goes on a date, and then next thing he knows is that he's fallen into a full-time moved in situation, and so he's kind of ready to be on his own. And now he's moved back to his college town, where he's taken over as the physical therapist at his alma mater. And Chris is no longer playing football. He had a really bad accident early on in his career. And so it kind of forced him to retire from football. They do go a lot into, not like exactly like the accident itself, but they go into the consequences of it and how his back is now messed up. And so that's kind of where they unintentionally meet again. Chris is back at the school because they have a really good physical therapy program, and he tweaked his back at his house. And then fate plays a hand, and Remy sees that Chris is his patient. The nice thing is that like after that, Chris doesn't go back, so it's not like there's this like secret patient physical therapist relationship or anything like that. But they realize that they're living really close to each other, and they kind of kick up this friendship. Remy is able to get Chris kind of out of his shell, and Chris starts coming over to Remy's house, and they do like baby stretches and stuff like that and talk in the morning. And so what's nice about it is that the focus really is on this relationship. Remy is afraid to kind of fall back into things, and Chris kind of leans on that, like on their past relationship. And then when Remy's like, I need to break a habit for myself, they basically are like, I guess Chris is a little bit friend zoned, even though there is like, again, this chemistry never went away and it's still really strong. So I do like the fact that they build this really strong foundation before it kind of turns into anything more. Remy really takes Chris like as he's at, like what he can do. And in a way, Chris has kind of been letting the pain that he's in almost all the time, that this chronic pain that he's in, almost like take over and steal a little of like the joy from his life. He's definitely like out there. He's become now a sports reporter and he enjoys it, but he's kind of like given up on like trying to help himself be better in any way. He's like, I think he's just been tired, and Remy gives him like a little bit of spark, a little bit of reason to try. And he does realize that he'll never be fully healed. There's none of that, but that he doesn't have to let necessarily the accident and the consequences and the pain define how he lives the rest of his life. And I just really liked that. So I thought it was more like a second chance at life and at the relationship. I say kind of a second chance because they didn't really have a relationship in the college years. So I like that. And of course, Dianna Roman is really good at throwing in a lot of emotions and character depth. And the side characters too are a lot of fun. Remy's best friend is a hoot. And I just really, really enjoyed this story. Next up, we've got Deviant by Cora Rose and Lark Taylor. So this is the second in the series, The Firm. I did recommend the first because it was really good, and this one does not disappoint. So it's not, well, it's a little dark, but it's not terrible. There is some violence. Ansel and Cade are our two main characters. Ansel, quote unquote, kidnaps Cade at the beginning of this one. Cade mostly lets him because he's got some skills. and Cade is one of the brothers that runs the firm. Ansel is indebted into some bad guys. He's kind of taken a job for some reason from some people he knows aren't great, and case of mistaken identity, kidnaps Cade without realizing that that's not the correct target. And so the two of them are kind of working a little bit together, but Cade is wired a little differently. And so he's enjoying being quote unquote kidnapped. And it gets a little obsessive, maybe a tad bit possessive of Ansel. Ansel doesn't want to give away what's actually going on for a while. So it takes Kate a while to break down these roles. But again, the chemistry, the dialogue, these characters are really, really well done. I found it kind of believable, even though it was a little outlandish if you think about it in like a far scoped way. But I mean, it's fiction, or I'm allowed to just like dive in if I want to and believe it. The brothers are hilarious. They have a love-hate relationship, more love, but like they definitely mess around with each other for sure. We do get to see the previous couple, as it is one of the brothers. They come over and help to untangle everything that's going on. So it's a little bit of a mystery, a little bit of a like touch 'em and die kind of situation, a little hot and heavy, and overall just a really fun time. Diving even a little darker than what that was is Trust by R. Phoenix and Adara Wolf. This is mafia related, so it is dark, but the nice thing is that Ilya is a really soft dom here. I think he's one of my favorite of the mafia doms that we've come across because it is part of the series. It does really well on its own, but if you like this one, I would recommend going back and reading the others because we do get to see cameos of previous couples, but really there's nothing here that would ruin any of the other ones. This one is about between Ilya and Micah. Micah is kind of set up by his boyfriend, who may or may not be an ex. It's a little cloudy to kind of get quote unquote dirt on Ilya to get in and find some things. His boyfriend is a terrible person, does not treat Micah very well, is kind of like a dirty cop. And Ilya just like sees Micah and wants him and treats him like gold. And Micah is not used to having his wants, his desires kind of catered towards or taken into account. And so he's kind of like wrestling with this. Do I go back to my boyfriend slash ex-boyfriend who I say I care for, but doesn't treat me nicely like this, or do I try for something different with or without Ilya? I did like how conflicted Micah internally was, even while he's like trying to not pretend, but even while he's in this relationship with Ilya. It was a really good dark romance. If you don't mind a little bit of violence, then I definitely recommend this entire series. But I do think Trust was one of my favorites out of it. There are content warnings galore in that, by the way. So even though Ilya has a soft touch, like I said, Micah's boyfriend does not. And there are a couple other trauma for everybody. Everybody's got trauma. Ilya's past childhood is traumatic. So just make sure you take note of the trigger warnings or content warnings before diving in. I think that should be said for any mafia story. Really. And last but not least, this is a little holiday-ish, but I'm going to throw it in anyway because I think you can read it any time. It's Snowy Skies and Puppy Eyes by Faye Quin. I do like Faye Quin. I like her characters, and this book does not disappoint. It is a contemporary slow burn. We've got Joe and Jason, and I will say they're both J names, so it did take me a smidge to kind of keep them separate, but they are very different people. A little bit of an age gap as well. Jason runs the town's grocery store and is about I want to say maybe 20 years older than Joe. Joe's in his mid 20s and has just bought an orchard at the edge of town. It's in really bad shape. He's trying to prove himself. He was in I guess he tried something similar before and failed, or in his mind he failed when he had to go home and give up on it. I wish Faye had expounded on that a little bit more, only because I didn't really get a good feeling of how exactly he failed the first time. Like if it was just like he couldn't get like whatever the farm or whatever he was working on up and running, or what was going on. But Jason is Jason wants to help people, has a need to help people, kind of based on the way he was grown up. And so he finds these sly ways of getting Joe some orders for his apples, and then also, like, in a way, quote unquote, bullies Joe into becoming friends. It's a little bit of an awakening for Joe and Jason. Both these kind of weren't expecting the chemistry between the two. It is very much a slow burn because, like I said, these guys take a while to get there. But once they do, it's definitely hot chili peppers. And honestly, I don't think you could really go wrong with Faye Quinn story, but I do really like this particular town that Joe and Jason's story takes place. There's another few couples that she's written about before, and it's a really cute small town where everybody knows everybody, and especially because Jason's been helping everybody in the town, we get to see them help him out when he needs it. And I just really thought it was a really heartwarming story in the end. I really enjoyed it. So that's what I got for January. I hope you guys have been reading. Have you been reading Heated Rivalries? I did watch the show. I loved it. Can't wait for season 2. And let me know in the comment section anything that you read over the holidays that you thought was worth me checking out, or if you got anything on your plate that you're looking forward to. And I hope to see you guys soon. All right. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And like I said, put anything in the comments below that you want me to take a look at. Thanks, you guys. Bye.